Om Namo Narayanaye. Om Namo Narayanaye.
Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha. So reading from Arcana Dipika, it's the 3rd edition, and this is the PDF that you can download from purebhakti.com. This is Arcana Padati or an Arcana Dipika, a light on Arcana, by the Devananda Gaudiya Math, originally Keshav Maharaj, Vaman Maharaj, and this one published by His Holiness Narayan Maharaj. So this section is called Preparations for Archana. So we're just going to go through this and explain a little bit about it. Procedures for performed in the morning. So in accordance with the order of Sri Guru Dev, meditating that one is performing worship under his guidance. So we should always remember that the Guru, that we meditate when we're doing any ritual whatsoever, that the Guru is guiding us and we're like a tool in his hands. So we're not really doing anything. Our Guru is doing it through us. He's using us to do it, to worship the Lord. Chant Shri Guru Gauranga Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ji Ki Jai and offer prostrated obeisances. Now, I think here, when they say Shri Guru Gauranga Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ji Ki Jai, it's a name of a particular set of deities in a particular Gaudiya month, like that. But probably you would substitute the name of the deities in your temple for that. So if your deities were named Radha Shama Sundar, right, then you would say Shri Guru Gauranga Shri Radha Shama Sundar Ki Jai, like that. Okay, so just chant that and offer prostrated obeisances. Prostrated obeisances means Shastanga Pranam. Or we could say Astanga Pranam or Shastanga Pranam. It means fully prostrating on the floor, like that. Now, there's other ways to offer obeisances. We can simply offer obeisances with Anjali Mudra in front of the chest, or we can do Panchanga Pranam where we bow down. And sometimes ladies, they'll do the Panchanga Pranam and the men will do the Shastanga Pranam. It's also called by Gaudiya Vaishnavas Dandavat Pranam, because Dandavat, the word vat means like, danda means it's stick. So like a stick, falling down just like a stick. Okay, so by touching the ground, will you become impure? Well, it depends. The ground. I mean, the Mother Earth is pure. We are impure, and in any case, when we start doing this, we're presumably we got up and we took a bath and we've put on tilak, we've put on devotional clothing, and we've come to the situation where we're going to do the deity worship. And here it says to offer prostrated obeisances. So we do prostrated obeisances, but we'll see as we go along, there are more activities to do to purify ourselves. So don't worry about offering pranams. Pranams actually purify us. They don't contaminate us. But yes, I mean, if you're in the middle of the street and there's a mud pile and there's a water or mud in front of you, and you do Shastanga Pranam, yes, you'll get impure, like that. So ritual impurity and physical impurity are two different things. And we are going to, let's see as we go along what this book says about how to purify ourselves ritually after we've done this. Okay, so anyway, offering prostrated obeisances, then enter the room of the deity, the Garbha Griha, it's called, or the innermost sanctum of the temple, or our home deity room. We enter the room. So it's understood here that because they're saying to you enter the room after prostrating obeisances, that you prostrate outside the room. So if you have a puja room outside the puja room at home, if in the temple, outside of the deity room. And also, this is an interesting thing too, that normally we don't prostrate inside the deity room. Okay, that's considered to be too close to the deity. So we don't do that. That's considered a seva aparad. Okay, so now Then enter the room and sanctify the asana, sitting place for the deity as follows. Now, I would suggest that here they did not mean to say sitting place for the deity, but rather the sitting place for the pujari who is worshiping the deity. Okay, so because we don't, the deity is sitting, the deity is on the altar, the deity is on the Vedi, or the altar, and that altar is sanctified, and we don't need to purify it, right? Should probably. So here, a little bit of probably a mistake in editing here. The sanctification of the asana is for the seat which we will either sit on or stand on to perform the ritual worship in the deity room. Okay, so let's continue on. Okay, sanctifying the asana is called asana shuddhi. Asana shuddhi. Shuddhi means to clean or to purify or pure, and asana is the seat which we sit on. So it could be a Krishna grass seat, it could be a wool seat. There are different types of seats. If you look in Hari Bhakti Vilas, chapter 17, which talks about Purascharana or Purascharya, it describes different types of seats to be used for different rituals. But in general, we have just a simple mat that we sit on, a pure mat made of some kusha grass or made of some pure substance like silk or wool. Wool is good, and that we sit on if we're going to be sitting while doing any ritual, right, in the deity room. So pure. So it says here, first of all, place the asana on the floor. So you go into the temple room or the deity room, or you go into the now. Interesting here, just before we go on. Okay, Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Sri Radha Vinod Bihari Ji Ki Jai. You are chanting this, and then offering obeisances, and then you're going into the garbhagriha or the puja room in the house or the deity room in the temple. Normally, we make a sound before we go into these rooms, right? So we either clap 3 times, which is called talatraya, or we ring a little bell, or we just simply say. It seems like what they're saying here is you just simply say the name of the deity, say Ki Jai. And the deity hears you and you go in. This is like knocking on a door before you go in. It's a polite thing to do. Okay, so then once we get inside, it says here, first place the asana on the floor. Now, normally in temples on altars, the asana is there already. There might be an asana already there on the floor. If it's not on the floor, you have to get it from where it's being put away, and you have to put it on the floor. Okay, so that's what they're saying. Take the asana, put it on the floor. Since you picked up the asana and put it on the floor, right, you then have to purify your hands. How do you purify your hands? You take some water from a panchapatra, which is a metal cup with a udarni, a metal spoon, and take some of that water and wash your hands. Just wash your hands. That's what it says. And then perform ordinary achmana. Okay. So the term ordinary achmana can be interpreted in different ways. In Hari Bhakti Vilas, the ordinary achmana involves chanting 24 names of Krishna, right? And involves sipping water and touching different parts of the body. Okay? But in these Archana Padditis and Archana Dipikas, which are shortened forms of Hari Bhakti Vilas, they tend to make a distinction between ordinary achmana, which in Sanskrit is called sadharana achmana, which is only the sipping of the water 3 times with 3 names, Om Keshavaya Namaha, Om Narayana Namaha, Om Madhavaya Namaha, and then washing the hands. The exact process of how they do this according to this Archana Dipika, this edition, we don't know because we haven't gone over that. It may be mentioned in another part of the book, and we'll have to go to the other part of the book to see that. So when you get to this position of this point of Achmana, you have to go and see what ordinary Achmana is. It's not explained here. It's not a step-by-step procedure where it explains everything for the complete novice. All right, so sometimes, so that Sadharana Achmana is the ordinary Achmana, and what is in Hari Bhakti Vilas, the Vaishnava Achmana, is referred to in these shortened books as Vishesha or specialized Achmana. Okay, so here we have to get our terminology correct, then we understand how it works. Okay, so now sanctify the asana by chanting. So we are going to chant these mantras to sanctify the asana. Now, actually, these mantras that come along now, this is the mantra nyasa actually. So in the in the ISKCON Archana Paddhati, which is based on the Gaudiya Archana Paddhati of the same name, they say to place your hand on the asana and say these mantras. But actually, these mantras are what's called a mantra nyasa. You touch different parts of the body, touch different parts of the upper body with different parts of the mantra. So you first of all, for every mantra, any mantra, there's a mantra nyasa, and the mantra nyasa explains the rishi or the sage who is the originator of the mantra that's going to be used, the chanda or the poetic meter in Sanskrit of the mantra that's going to be used, the deity or the devata, which the mantra is, the prayer is recited to or for, and the purpose or the viniyogaha of the mantra, right? The purpose of the mantra. So we're going to say those things, and we're going to touch the head. We're going to touch in front of the nose or mouth, right? We're not going to actually touch the nose or mouth because then we'd have to wash our hands again. So we're going to touch. We can do the whole thing by bhava, touching near these places, or we can touch the top of the head and we can touch the heart. You know, that's okay. We don't have to wash our hands, but when it comes to touching near the nose or mouth, we should not do that physically, but we can just do it by meditation. We can hold our hands in front. So what we do is when we're going to say the name of, when we're going to chant any mantra, before we chant any mantra, we do the mantra nyasa. And the mantra nyasa says, we say these things. So the first thing we're going to do is Om Asana Mantrasya Merapristha Rishihi. So it means Om, oh my Lord, this is the Asana mantra, right? And of the Asana mantra, the rishi or the sage of the Asana mantra is a person called Merapristha Rishihi. Then we're going to put the four fingers of the right hand in front of the nose or mouth, right, where the mantras come out, and we're going to talk about the poetic meter of the mantra. So we're going to say Sutalam Chandaha. Chandaha means the meter. Sutalam is the name of the meter of the mantra. Then we're going to touch our heart in the middle of the chest, and we're going to say Kurmo Devata. We're going to think of the Kurma as the deity that we're going to address this mantra to or pray to, right? So Kurma, the tortoise incarnation of the Lord, is the Devata of the mantra. Then we're going to take our two hands and we're going to say in front of our chest in Anjali Mudra, and we're going to say Asana Pavasani Viniyogaha. When we say Viniyogaha, we can turn the palms inward like this, just like we're doing Avahanam of a deity. We're invoking a deity. So let's meditate that we're invoking Kurma into our heart, and we're going to chant this mantra to him. The purpose of the mantra is to purify the asana. Asana Pavasani Viniyogaha. This can be once, twice, or three times, right? Normally people just do it once, it's enough with mantra nyas. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to chant a couple of three different mantras here. Om Adara Shaktaye Namaha. Om and Namaha with something in the middle in the dative case means, so Om, my obeisances unto the Adara Shakti, the Lord's energy that holds things up. Adhara means to hold things up. So, oh my Lord, I offer my obeisances unto your energy that holds things up. Why? Because I'm going to sit on the asana and I want the Lord's energy to hold me up. So Om Adara Shaktaye Namaha. Om Anantaya Namaha. Ananta is the transcendental, Ananta Shesha is the transcendental bed or couch of the Lord that he reclines on, right? And so he also holds the Lord up, and he also sometimes he's understood in the Puranas to hold up the planetary systems on his 7 hoods or 5 hoods or however many heads he has. But Ananta is, he is also holding things up. So we're praying to all these deities that hold things up because we're going to sit on the asana. So Om Anantaya Namaha, my obeisances unto Ananta Shesha. And the next thing is Om Kurmaya Namaha. As we said before, Kurma is also holding up Mount Mandara, on his back. So he's also a great personality, incarnation of the Lord to remember when we want things to be held up. So Om Kurmaya Namaha. So we say Om Adara Shaktaye Namaha, Om Anantaya Namaha, Om Kurmaya Namaha. Afterwards, we touch the asana. So they also say here, like the Archana Paddhati, ISKCON Archana Paddhati 1978, that you should touch the asana. Now, if you're going to touch something, the best way to touch something is to touch it with the right hand. So just touch the asana and chant. It's not mentioned here how you should touch it, right? So simply touch it with your right hand and say the following sloka. Prithvi tvaya drita loka devi tvam vishnudadita tvam cha dharayamam nityam pavitram chasanam kuru. Right, this mantra is there in Hari Bhakti Vilas, and it means, "Oh Prithvi Devi, or Mother Earth, you support all the world's peoples, and Sri Vishnu sustains you, O Goddess. Please always support me and sanctify this asana, this seat, right, that I'm going to sit on, like that." We also see this mantra being chanted as Prithvi Tvajita Loka, Devi Tvam Vishnunadita, Tvam Chadarayamam Nityam, Pavitram Kuru Chasanam. So you can either say Chasanam Kuru or Kuru Chasanam. Here it's been said, Pavitram Chasanam Kuru. Okay. Continuing on, then sprinkle some water on the asana. So how do we sprinkle some water on the asana? We take the spoon or the panchapatra or whatever water source we have, sprinkle some water in the right hand, and with the right hand, we sprinkle some water on the asana, a little bit of water on the asana to purify it, and offer fragrant flowers to the asana. I don't know why you would do this, but they say to do it. They're offering fragrant flowers to the asana. When people offer things, a lot of times they take the bell in the left hand, they ring the bell, they offer the flowers, and it says here fragrant flowers to the asana. So they offer it to the asana. Now it doesn't say whether you should put those flowers or they could be flowers or flower petals on the asana, or whether you should just offer them and then throw them in the throw out pot. We don't know. Like that. So it's not being said there. It's not being said there. Can you use a mango leaf instead of a spoon? Yeah, sure. Why not? You can use a mango leaf instead of a spoon. Right. Sometimes people do that when they're doing fire ceremonies. They use a mango leaf, and sometimes they fold up the end of the leaf and make it into a cup shape. Otherwise, they can just use the mango leaf straight as it is, but you don't get very much water if you do that. So the various paraphernalia for Arcana, after sanctifying the deity's asana. Now, again, they seem to have made this mistake, and they think that we are sanctifying the deity's asana. Now, unless I'm very much mistaken, we are praying to Mother Earth here, right? For the goddess to support us, not to support the Lord. So this shouldn't be like this. This should be changed, right? We are not sanctifying the deity's asana. We're sanctifying the asana that we're going to sit on. Now, of course, that asana is the paraphernalia of the Lord because it's part of the temple. The pujari is also the paraphernalia of the Lord because he is worshiping the Lord. So in one sense, you can say that is the deity's asana, but it is used by the pujari. Everything belongs to Krishna, but it's used by the pujari. So it's a little bit misleading here. I would have said after sanctifying the asana or our asana or the pujari's asana, and that would be more understandable. While sitting on one's own asana, and this is in brackets, while sitting on one's own asana, so it's a little bit confusing here because twice they said something about a deity's asana, and now they're talking about one's own asana. So is that whole thing to do with the deity's asana? It's unclear. You probably have to talk to somebody who wrote this book and see what they actually meant, or see somebody perform this. As far as I know, and I followed this same system because it's almost exactly the same as the ISKCON 1978 Archana Padati, right? We're talking about the asana that you sit on, and we're not talking about the altar, because normally we would talk about the deity's asana as an altar, right? Okay, so while sitting on one's own asana in half lotus position, swastika asana means half lotus position. Half lotus position is where you sit cross-legged and one leg is above the other, right? You don't cross your legs like that in an easy position. Or in full lotus position, Padmasana. Padmasana is also where it's full lotus, where you have both feet up on the thighs of the opposite legs. That's a difficult asana. The half lotus is easier, right? In any case, whichever type of sitting position you take up, the feet should be folded in towards the body, because pointing the feet at the deity or showing your feet to anybody is not considered a good thing in Vedic society. We should therefore either we fold the feet under the feet under us, or we sit in easy position, easy pose, just sitting easily cross-legged. But in any case, the dhoti in the case of males, or the sari or the cloth in the case of females or others, right, should be over the feet, whether the feet are up in Padmasana or 1 foot's up in Swastikasana, or whether both feet are down. They should be completely covered like that, okay? Place at an easily accessible distance and in an appropriate spot the following Arcana paraphernalia. So normally when you come to perform worship, you'll bring a tray with you and you'll bring all the samagris or the ingredients for the worship. So there'll be clothes and jewels, and there'll be vessels to hold padya, argya, chimaniya, madhuparka, different things. There'll be a panchapatra, there'll be a water pot with water in it with a spout. There'll be conchas, and there'll be bells, and there'll be lamps and incense. There'll be all these things on a big tray, and you'll bring all these things in. It's a good idea before you're going to do a puja. Make a list of all the ingredients that you need, right? We're called samagri list, and how many you need of each, like that. And you can only know that if you go through the actual puja step by step and realize how much you need, and then make a list, make a shopping list and get it all together, and then bring it with you on a tray and place it next to you, because you're sitting down and you should be able to reach it, right, without having to get up and down all the time during the puja, because that's an inconvenience for you and an inconvenience also for the Lord. Okay, so place it at an accessible distance in the appropriate spot, the following Arcana paraphernalia. Okay, so now he's going to say what other things we need. Place the receptacles used for bathing, shnana patras. Okay, shnana patras. This is in plural. I don't know why it's in plural. How many shnana patras you need? A shnana patra is a dish, a flat dish, in which you can place one deity or more than one deity, and it has sides on it so that when you pour the water over the top of the deity, it doesn't splash out all over the floor, and it may have either holes in the bottom of it so the water goes down into a container underneath, or it may have a drain going off to the side, which drains off into another container so that we can hold the charnamrita, or what's called tirtha, the water which has been used to, or other substances which have been used to wash the deity's body. Okay, so here it says, place the receptacles used for bathing, for bathing, shnana patras, between oneself and in front of the deity. So you imagine you have a deity, you have a deity on an altar, and the altar is low enough for you to access that deity, or you take it, the deity's in a little, probably it's a small, the deity is probably a small movable metal deity, and it's on an asana, and you take it and you put it on a little square table, and you sit behind it. So in front of you, you're going, between you and the deity, you're going either on the table or on the floor, you're going to place this shnana patra, where you're going to place the deity and do the abhishek and do the bathing of the deity. So this means between the pujari and the asana established for the deity. The asana established for the deity. Once again, they're talking about an asana established for the deity. So it's the way this is written, it seems like you're establishing an asana for the deity. So if you're establishing an asana for the deity, I don't know, I've never seen this. Maybe what they're talking about is that you have a chowki or a small square table which is raised on 4 legs, and the pujari sits beside it, and you bring the deity, and place the deity on the chowki, on that table, and therefore you have to establish a seat for the deity first, in which case all of that other stuff would be for establishing the seat for the deity. But then you also have to establish a seat for yourself, so you have to do that twice. Or the deity is on a small throne, which the whole throne is brought and placed down, so that you can sit down and you can perform deity worship sitting down. Otherwise, normally in a temple, the deity will be higher than the altar will be higher than that, and some people, they have a high table, and they perform worship on the table standing up. Here, the system is obviously sitting down. So exactly how the person is going to do that is a little unclear. Whether, how they're going, where they're going to place the deity. This means the pujari and the asana, between the pujari and the asana, established for the deity. Now, place a throw-out pot, which is called a Visarjaniya Patra, right? An empty container before the deity in which to receive Achmana and other articles after they've been offered. So there are some things which you offer to the deity, which you place in the Shnana Patra. And there are other things which you offer to the deity, which you place in the Visarjaniya Patra, the throw-out pot. There are some things we throw out. So between oneself and the bathing receptacles, again, we're talking about bathing receptacles in plural. It doesn't say how many there are, but it uses plural. So I have no idea how many deities are being worshipped here, or what kind of worship is going on. Place a bathing conch. A bathing conch means a conch that doesn't have the end cut off it so that you can blow it and make a sound, but a conch that is able to hold liquids and pour over the top of the deity, right? On a three-legged stand. So a three-legged stand, when you go to buy the conch at the paraphernalia store, they will probably sell you a stand which has three legs on which you should which you can rest the conch shell. Now, the conch shell, the bathing conch shell, has to rest on a stand, because in order to pour water in, if we pour water in the conch, if we don't have a stand, if it sits on the floor, if it sits on a table or on a flat surface, it'll roll around and the water will fall out before we get to pour it over the deity. So there has to be a stand so that we can put the conch on the stand, and so we can fill it up with water and pour it over the deity without it spilling. Okay, so between us and the bathing receptacles, we place the bathing conch on a three-legged stand. There are more complicated methods of installing and establishing these articles, but here it's being done in a very simple way. And to the left of that, to your left, right, of that, place a bell. And the reason they do it put the bell on the left on a small plate. So on the ground, on the floor, you should have a small round plate, and the bell goes on top of that because we don't want to put the bell directly on the floor. And it goes over on the left-hand side because the bell is rung with the left hand. However, when we ring the bell, sometimes people pick up the bell with the right hand and pass it to the left hand before ringing it. So there are some people who just pick it up with the left hand, other people pick it up with the right and pass it to the left. There are different things that people do like that, but normally we tend to use the right hand more in deity worship. And so even though we are using the left hand, which is not usually considered a ritually pure hand, still sometimes we have to use both hands, and in that case we usually take the thing with the right hand and pass it to the left hand. So next we have small containers called patras, each with padya, water for washing the water for foot bathing. Argya, a symbolic offering. It's argya is usually water for washing the hands or sprinkling over the head. It's water which is offered to a guest. Achmaniya, mouthwash or water for washing the mouth. And madhuparka, a sweet liquid foodstuff. So it's sweet liquid. It's a sweet drink, basically. It's a reception drink. In the vivaha samskara, the marriage ceremony, the father of the bride, when he does the vara puja, when he meets the groom at the wedding ceremony, he greets the groom and he washes his feet, but he also presents him this madhuparka, which is a sweet drink. It's a reception drink, usually made with honey and yogurt and milk, sometimes with a little ghee and a little sugar in it. Okay, so, but it is sweetened with honey usually, and that's why it gets the name madhuparka, because madhu means honey in Sanskrit. Okay, so substitute, right. Generally, padya, agya, and achmaniya are substituted with pure water from the panchapatra or the conch shell. Okay, so what he's saying here in the square brackets is saying that padya, agya, and achmaniya can just be done with pure water, like that. There are, according to Hari Bhakti Vilas and most puja padadis, there are certain spices and certain other ingredients that go into these padya, agya, achmaniya vessels. But if you want to do it in a very simple way, which it seems like they're doing here, you can just use pure water. Then it says, furthermore, place on the left the incense or dhupa in a stand. Okay, so it's presumed that you're using stick incense or agabati incense, and you have a stand for the stick incense, and you have one or three sticks of incense there. and you have them ready to light them and offer them to the deity. A ghee wick or deepa in a holder, so a little ghee lamp with either one wick or more than one wick, 3 or 5 or whatever, and a blowing conch shell. A blowing conch shell. This will be unlike the bathing conch shell. The blowing conch shell is usually bigger and it's cut off at the end so that we can blow it and make a sound, just like Krishna and the other Kshatriyas on both sides of the Battle of Kurukshetra made that sound. It's a very auspicious sound. And we can do that at certain times in the puja. So we have two conches there, the bathing conch and the blowing conch. Right. So, and a jug, blowing conch shell, and a jug, like a pitcher or a jug, or earthen pot of water. Okay, I would suggest don't use an earthen pot of water, probably have a metal pot. That will be much more useful. Earthen pots tend to be difficult to pour out of an earthen pot. If you get a metal jug, it'll at least have a lip and you'll be easy to pour water out of it, or a spout. The best thing is probably what we call in South India a gindi, or in Sanskrit sometimes called a karaka, which means a pot with a spouted water pot. That's probably the best thing to use. Okay, so, and then made of metal, either brass or bell metal or copper. So, or if you have more money, you can get them made of silver or even gold. So to be used when water is required to establish articles. Okay, so in front of yourself and to the right of the bathing conch, to the right of the bathing conch, place the panchapatra. Now, panchapatra is a metal cup with water in it and a spoon. It's called a panchapatra because in some instances there are 5 of them, but in this instance it's just one of them, so it's just like that. And separate containers of chandan, sandalwood paste, flower petals perhaps, and tulsi leaves, one after another in a line, as well in the line going in a line going from you towards the deity, right? From the panchapatra, next there'll be these. So this will be in front of yourself on the right, to the right of the bathing conch. One after another in a line, as well as a container or dish used to catch water when washing one's hands. Okay, so have a dish there, have a plate with a rim like that, so that you can actually wash your hands if you need to wash your hands during the puja. Although in some situations one may face the deity, it's also a common practice to face the asana of the deity. Okay, so face the asana of the deity while keeping the deity on one's left. Okay, so it's possible to face the deity directly, or to sit with your left side with the deity, facing the deity, but the deity is on your left side somehow. Like that. In Hari Bhakti Vilasa, it mentions that when you're offering obeisances to Krishna or Vishnu, you should have your left side to the deity, like that. So that's sometimes people do that. Now the thing is, normally we like to sit facing east. The second most auspicious direction is north. So if the deity is facing us, let's say if the deity is facing east, then we would be facing north, right, with our left side to the deity, right? So that's possible. It's possible the deity is facing east in some temples, most temples, many temples, and the reason for that is the sun comes up and Surya Narayana is there, and the sun falls on the deity in some way. Maybe if it's possible for the sun to come into the temple, and that's called Usha Puja. So that's a possibility. So if the deity is facing east and you're facing with your side to your left side to the deity, then you're facing north, which is the second best direction. However, you can also face the deity. You can also face the deity, in which case you would be facing west if the deity is facing east. But in any case, it's not important. It's important that we don't have our back to the deity. And if we're going to have our side to the deity, let it be the left side. Okay, that's what it's saying. While keeping the deity to one's left. Okay, for convenience, articles that would normally be offered directly to the deity can be offered into a small plate known as the Puja Patra. Okay, Puja Patra. So Puja Patra, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it seems to be a type of throw-out pot, but we're just throwing things out in front of the deity, and it's being poured in there. Maybe those flowers and things will be put with the deity on the altar, or maybe not. We don't know. It says here Puja Patra, which is placed in front of the Shnana Patra. Okay, so we'll see later on. Now we're going to give a little bit of a diagram here. So we have some deities of some small, looks like small deities of Radha Krishna and Sri Gauranga, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we have different numbers showing us. Now we have looks like let's see, it looks like 17 is where the asana is for the deity, and 18 is the asana for the pujari. So we have these deities there on the altar, and then they're going to be placed in 17. The pujari is going to sit in 18. We see 16 is the blowing conch. 11 is a big water pot full of water, like to be used in the puja. 15 are the three Padyargachmaniya, like that. Different things to be offered. So it could be Padyargachmaniya. There should probably be a fourth one there, Madhuparka. Then we have in front of those 4 and 5 are the dupa, or the incense, and the single wick ghee lamp. Number 6 is the Visarjaniya Patra, or the throw-out pot. 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's see. We have on the table on this round section in front of the person. There's a number 1 is a Panchapatra with an Udarani spoon inside it, and number 3 is the bell on the plate. Number 2 is the bathing conch on a 3-legged stand. And it's interesting that they have drawn here a different left-handed conch. Looks like they've drawn a left-handed conch, right? So it's not actually, this type of shell is not actually a conch. It's called a lightning whelp, and some people call it a Lakshmi conch, and it's used in some places in India or by some Hindus around the world to bathe deities with. But it's not really a conch. It's not like number 16. That's a blowing conch. It's not the same species. Okay. All right. So then down here we have 12, 13, and 14. We can say 12 has got flowers on it, a plate with flowers on it. 13 has tulsi leaves, and 14 has chandan. I assume. Let's look and see 7, 8, 9, and 10. 7, 8, 9, 10. 7 is the puja patras. 8 is a bathing receptacle. 9 is a puja patra for Gurudev, and 10 is a bathing receptacle for Gurudev. Okay, so up here we have these deities of Radha Krishna and Mahaprabhu, and it looks like we're going to bathe them all together in number 8, in the bathing receptacle 8, and any items that we need to put in the puja patra offered to them is going to be put in number 7. And then somehow or other we don't have a deity here of Gurudev. Maybe we're going to meditate on Gurudev, on Sri Gurudev, and we're going to place a flower petal and meditate that he's in 10. He gets to sit in 10, and we're going to bathe him in 10, and we're going to offer items that are thrown in the puja patra for him in number 9. So that's an explanation of that diagram. So let's continue on. Down here, the other thing that it mentions that that sugar, ghee, and honey are the ingredients of Madhuparka. I would disagree with this, right? If anybody knows what Madhuparka is, if you make something up, if you just mix sugar and honey with a little ghee, that's not Madhuparka. That's just sugar and ghee. And you need to add. Normally in Madhuparka, it's Panchamrita. You have milk, yogurt, ghee, honey, and sugar. So you have those things, the 3, sugar, ghee, and honey, but you should also have milk and yogurt a little bit. Now, there are other recipes for Madhuparka. Maybe this is the recipe for Madhuparka. Maybe this is actually correct according to the way they do things, but I doubt it very much. I've never seen people just offer straight honey, or it could be just straight honey. That's fine. Straight honey, sugar, and a little bit of ghee. Okay, maybe that. As long as honey is there, we can say it's a type of madhuparka because madhu means honey. All right, so we understand all of these different things, and let's continue on page 42. Right, 42. Okay, so now the process of establishing these articles. Now, it seems like we have all of these articles set out here. And now somehow or other, we're going to do some rituals where we establish those. So the process of establishing the articles, when establishing each of the articles, first of all, use water, wet the finger. How do we wet the finger, right? Normally what's done is that you take some water from the spouted water pot, you pour it in the right hand, and you sprinkle it on the floor or the place where you're going to place the item. And with the pavitra, or the ring finger of the right hand, you draw this diagram of Satkona, which is the six-pointed star. Some people in Bengal, they draw just simply the downward triangle, which is called a trikona. But this is a Satkona, or a six-pointed star. It looks like a Star of David or a Jewish star. And it represents the male principle and the female principle together, and it also represents Lord Sudarshana, the chakra of the Lord. But anyhow, we want to establish this as a type of yantra on which to, or mandala, on which to position or wish to establish different patras or different pots. Okay, so when establishing, it says wet your finger. Okay, so how do you wet your finger? It doesn't say how do you wet your finger, right? Normally, if somebody said to me, wet your finger, I would say, okay, well, I have a pot of water here. I'll just stick my finger in it and wet it. But you can't do that, because if you stick your finger in and wet it, you will touch your nail to the water, and the water will become contaminated by touching your fingernail, because there's dirt under your fingernail, and your fingernails are generally considered to be unclean. So we try not to touch our fingernails to any liquid or anything that touches the Lord like that. So how do we wet our finger? Well, the normal, usual way is, as I said, take some water from the spouted water pot, pour it in the right hand, sprinkle that on the place where you're going to draw this diagram, and then just simply take your finger without wetting it and just simply push the water around in this tricone. Just make a triangle and make another intersecting triangle, and you have a satkona. That's how you do it. So while chanting the mantra, Om Astraya Pat, right, which is a mantra. Astra means weapon. Astraya means unto the weapon. So it means, oh my Lord, unto the weapon, crack, put. Rinse or sprinkle. I would say sprinkle rather than rinse. Rinsing seems to be like washing, right? So just simply sprinkle to purify the article, whether it's a patra, a dish, or whatever it is. Sprinkle it with water and place it on its place. Okay, so how do we sprinkle it with some water? Normally, we would bring all these articles on a tray, and instead of putting them out, instead of laying them out in that, as it was said here, to just lay them out and then sprinkle it and then move it, why not keep it on a tray, right? Get your list, your shopping list, and get your list of putting all things together. You have a list of all the samagris, all the ingredients you need, put them all on a huge tray, take it in, put it beside you. When you sit down, you can then take some water from the water pot in your right hand, sprinkle a patra, sprinkle a dish with some tulsi leaves or flowers in it, whatever you need. Sprinkle the conch shell, sprinkle the stand of the conch shell, whatever you're sprinkling, you can sprinkle it. You can say Om Astraya Pat, just sprinkle. Anything you sprinkle, say Om Astraya Pat, sprinkle it, make it pure, then put it on one of these designs and establish it, right? So that's the better way to do things. Okay, so or sprinkle the article and place it on its place. Right. So it says, yeah, well, sprinkle the article. Yeah. There is no need to establish with mantras the separate containers used for chandan, flowers, and tulsi. Okay. Right. The water pot or the dish used to catch water when washing one's hands. Okay. So what they're saying is, according to this procedure, they're saying you don't have to establish these other things. You can just simply place them around yourself. It seems like on the floor here. Okay, but we don't know if it's on the floor or if it's raised up in some way. So after washing the tulsi leaves, place them in their patra. Okay, so we have to, why don't we just sprinkle the tulsi leaves again also? And then, okay, so somehow or other, the tulsi leaves, they're saying the tulsi leaves should be somewhere else. We should wash them, and then we should take them and put them in the patra, and then put the patra on the floor. But we don't need to establish where, we don't have to do this diagram and establish the tulsi patra, the dish for tulsi. Okay, so where the tulsi leaves were before is not being told to us. Okay, so before we put them in the patra, before we wash them. Flowers should not be washed with water. Okay, good. Flowers should not be washed with water. Purify them by chanting the mantra for purifying flowers, right? See the Pushpa Shuddhi mantra as previously mentioned on page 36. So we have to go to page 36 and find that. But I just happen to know what it is Om Pushpe Pushpe Maha Pushpe Pushpa Pushpa Sambhave Pushpe Chaiva Nancha Humpat Swaha. Humpat Swaha. Okay, so that is the Pushpa Shuddhi mantra, and you'll find it on page 36. What happens if flowers are washed? If flowers are washed, you can still use them. The idea is that perhaps by washing, the fragrance of the flower may diminish, but flowers are considered to naturally be pure. However, if they fall on the ground, they're not considered pure, except there's one type of flower called a parijata flower, which in English is usually called night queen. And it's a small jasmine-like flower with orange stem and white flowers. Is it white flowers and orange stem, or orange petals and white stem? I forget. But anyway, it's a small one like that. That one falls off the tree in Brahma Muhurta about 4:30 in the morning. And so because it does so, and because it was brought from the heavenly planets by Lord Krishna, because Satyabhama in Dwarka wanted this flower, this fragrant flower from Indra's palace. So Krishna went and got it and stole it and brought it back for her. And so because it's coming from Swarga Loka, then even if it falls on the ground, it's considered to be pure. But other flowers, we should pick those flowers and we should not throw them on the floor. They should not be on the floor. If a flower touches the floor, then you definitely need to sprinkle it. You need to wash it like that. But here, ordinarily, we don't wash flowers. Maybe we can sprinkle them a little bit with water if like I say, if they touch something which is not considered like the ground, not considered pure. Okay, so in the absence of Ganges water, purify ordinary water. How to dispose of flowers? The same way you dispose of all Mahaprasadam. If the flower is Mahaprasadam, it's disposed with the Mahaprasadam in the same way. So in the absence of Ganges water, purify ordinary water by chanting the mantra to invoke the holy rivers called the Tirtha Avahana Mantra. So Avahana means to invoke. Tirtha is a holy waters, a holy river, a holy place or a holy place where there is a holy river or a holy tank. And so we chant the Tirtha Avahana Mantra. Again, you have to see page 15 to find that. Tirtha Avahana Mantra is Om Gange Cha Yamuni Chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalismin Sanidim Kuru. Okay, so now it says here, if you don't have Ganges water. So if you have Ganges water, if you live by the side of the Ganges, just take the Ganges water and use it. If you don't have the Ganges water, then you can take ordinary water and you can invoke the holy rivers into the Ganges water by using this. Now, I don't know what it says on page 15, but in the ISKCON Arcana Paddhati 1978 edition, it says that what you do is you have to use an Ankush Mudra and you have to touch the top of the water and stir it clockwise, and you have to then say the mantra. Okay, like that. Okay, but here it doesn't mention anything about that. But it may be that if we go to page 15, it may say to do some other things like wrap the thumb around the thread and use the Ankusha Mudra and touch the top of the thing and top of the water without touching your nail to the water and chant this mantra, and then afterwards chant 8 times from Krishna to Maha, the Mula mantra for Krishna over the water. That's what some Paddhis say. So I don't know. We have to look at page 15 and see if that is better. If you're going to follow this, is better to insert at this point the Pushpa Shuddhi mantra, the Tirtha Vahana mantra. If when you're first learning, you need to write a procedure, which has got everything in front of you, so you don't have to flip back and forth in the book. Okay, so you can just go step by step, and you can have everything there on the page. Okay, so that's called a prayoga. So we need to write a prayoga for these instructions. There is no need to recite the mantra if one has actual Ganges water. Okay, good. Now some Vaishnavas they use Kaveri water, or they use other holy river water, or they will use Virja water from the spiritual world, which is the Virja river, which is between the spiritual and material world, because the Ganges water, Sri Vaishnavas, because the Ganges water is a little bit, although the Ganges is considered supremely pure, but Sri Vaishnavas, because they're Ekanta Vaishnavas, they prefer to use the original source of that water, which is the Virja river. So they meditate on the Virja and they invoke the Virja into the ordinary water, because the Ganges water is from when Lord Vamana Dev turned into Trivikram and he kicked the top of the universe, and the Virja river water flowed over his foot on down and came off of Lord Shiva's head and came to the earth. So if you meditate on it like that, you think, well, why would I offer water which has already washed the feet of Krishna onto Krishna again? Or why would I also offer that water, right, that has come off the head of Lord Shiva onto Krishna again? So, but in any case, most people, most Hindus and most other Vaishnava Sampradayas, they'll use Ganges water, or they invoke the holy rivers like that. The Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, wanting to be very, very particular about this, they say, no, we want to meditate on the original source of that water, which is the Virja river, and we will bring Virja water by meditation and invoke the Virja in our pot, so that this water goes on Krishna. It's the first, it hasn't been on the head of Shiva or anybody else. So establishing water in the Panchapatra. Now we're going to establish water in the Panchapatra. Now, I would suggest that whole section before there where it said to lay everything out, don't do that. Better, you have it all on a tray next to you, and then you can set it out in each place. Because if it's already set out in the place, how do you remember which thing you've established and which thing you haven't established? You have to go around and establish each thing one by one. It's very easy to do it. If it's on the tray, you take it off the tray, you sprinkle it on the tray, you take it off the tray, you place it on the yantra, the satkona, and then you fill it up, or whatever you have to do to it to make it ready. You establish it for the worship. Okay, so here, establishing the Panchapatra. Draw two intersecting triangles. We saw the diagram above, the satkona, as described, and while chanting the following mantras, proceed as instructed. So, with Omastraya pot, rinse the Panchapatra and its spoon. So, the Panchapatra, in my estimation, if you have the Panchapatra without water, you have a spoon in it, you have a Panchapatra sitting on a tray, you take some water, you take the water pot with the spouted water pot, pour some water into the right hand, and say Omastraya pot, and sprinkle that on the Panchapatra with a spoon, right? Then any excess water, you pour it off into the throw-out pot, right? Then you say Omadara Shaktaya Namaha, place the Panchapatra along with its spoon on the two intersecting triangles. You establish it on the satkona, on the floor. Then placing a flower petal. Now it says here a flower petal. Some people take a flower petal and dip it in a little bit of chandan, right? Dip it in a little bit of sandalwood paste, right? Some people and place it in the heart of the Panchapatra, in the inside of the Panchapatra. And when we place something in the heart of something, we say Om Hridayaya Namaha. Hrida means heart, so in the heart. So first of all, we establish it Om Adara Shakti Namaha, meditating again on the Lord's energy to hold it up. And then we're going to place a flower petal in the Panchapatra. Yes, very good. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to fill that up with water. Pour water into the Panchapatra. Pour water into the Panchapatra and fill it up like that. So from the spouted water pot, right? When we do that, we say Om Shirase Swaha. So these mantras are common. These mantras are common. Omastraya Pat, sprinkle something to purify it. Om Adara Shakti Namaha, establish it in the place where you're going to use it from, right, on the satkona. Om Hridayaya Namaha, place a flower petal in the middle of it, inside it, like that, or whatever else has to go inside it, right? And like spices or something for different Padyagrachmaniya, Madhuparka, whatever has to go inside it, establish that inside it. Then Om Hridayaya Namaha, then Om Shirase Swaha, fill it up. Shirase Swaha is filling it up, right? Okay, so these are common mantras for all this sprinkling, cleansing, establishing, putting something in the heart of something and filling it up, right? Om Asraya Om Darashakti Namaha, Om Vina Namaha, Om Shri Swaha. Okay, simple. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a flower petal dipped in ganda or sandalwood paste, and we're going to dip it in the ganda, and we're going to offer it arti style, like that. If we have a bell, we can ring the bell with the left hand while we do this. Otherwise, we don't need to do that because we haven't established the bell yet. So we're going to say Om Am Arkamandala Dwadasa Kalatmane Namaha, and we're going to stick it to the side of the Panchapatra. Here it doesn't say that. It just says to press a flower petal dipped in ganda or chandan to the Panchapatra. So we're just going to take it. He doesn't even say to offer it. He says just take it and stick it to the side of the Panchapatra. Okay, so what does this mean? So Om means, oh my Lord. Am is a bija mantra, and we're going to see later we've got Am, and Mam, which we're going to use. So they are the three letters of the alphabet in Sanskrit that make up the syllable Om, A-U-M. So we have A with Anushwara, Am. We have U with Anushwara, and we have M with Anushwara is Mam, right? So Am, and Mam. We're going to see that. Then we're going to mention different mandalas, we're going to mention the three sources of light, the three sources of power in this world: the sun, the moon, and fire. So we're going to have Arka Mandala or Surya Mandala. We're going to have Soma Mandala or Chandra Mandala, and we're going to have Agni Mandala or Vani Mandala. These mean the same things, right? So then after that we have Kalatmane. So Kala, the word Kala means a different. Kala means a piece, different or a division. Okay. So here we have Dwada. The Arka Mandala has 12 divisions, right? So the Surya Mandala or the Arka Mandala, the sun, right, has 12 divisions, and those are the different months of the year, right? Or the different zodiac signs, you can say, from Aries, Taurus, Gemini. So Mesha, Vrishabha, Mithuna, like that. So so these are the 12 months of the year, the Dwarasa Kalapani Namaha. So we say Om Am, Arkamandalaya, Dwarasa Kalapani Namaha. We take a flower petal, dip it in chanda, and press it to the side of the Panchapatra, right? In the middle of the side. Then we say Om, Soma Mandalaya, Sodasa Kalapani Namaha. There are Sodasa colors of the Soma Mandala or the Moon Mandala, right? There are 16, which are Pratama, Dutiya, Chatiya, Chaturthi, Panchami, Shasti, Saptami, Astami, Dasami, Ekadasi, Dwadasi, Trayodasi, Chaturdasi of each of the light and the dark fortnight of the month, because whereas the sun has to do with the year, the solar year, the moon has to do with the month. So each month there are these 14 lunar days, right, from Pratama to the 14th, which is Chaturdasi. There are also two other days, which is Amavasya and Purnima, which is the new moon, or when there's no moon in the sky, and there's the full moon, or Purnima. So if we add 14 and 2, we get 16, and so therefore there are 16 divisions of the Soma Mandala, which we're worshipping. Om, Soma Mandalaya, Sodasa Kalapane Namaha, and we place, it says here, worship the water in the Panchapatra by placing a flower petal in it. Okay, so we place a flower petal in it. It doesn't mention that there's any chandan on this flower petal, although we already put a flower petal in the inside the Panchapatra. Okay, so that's nice. Afterwards, by the Tirtha Vahana Mantra, Gange Chaya Muni Chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalismin Sanidim Kuru, which we mentioned before, right? This is on page 15, right? So we should write that out again. Petition all the holy rivers to enter the water. So think about all the holy rivers: Ganga, Yamuna, Godavari, Saraswati, Narmada, Sindhu, Kaveri, all these 7 holy rivers. Imagine them coming and depositing some of their holy water into the Panchapatra. Then chant the Gopal mantra 8 times while touching the water with the right hand covered by the left. So how exactly we touch the water with the right hand is not given here. In the Asana Parity, they say holding in a Bengali way. This is a Bengali thing where people cross the they take the Brahman thread like this and they cross it over like that, and then they make an Ankush mudra by having the little finger and ring finger of the right hand down, the middle finger up, and the index finger slightly bent, right? And we make a goad for controlling elephants, which is called an Ankusha. Then with the pad of the middle finger, not touching the nail to it, we touch the top of the water and stir clockwise, productionum, right? And we chant the river, the Tirtha Vahana Mantra, Gange Chayamani Chava, and call the holy rivers there. Then after that, even keeping the Brahman thread like this or not, we can then chant. We can then chant on the different segments of the fingers. We can chant 8 times what it says here, the Gopal Mantra, Klim Krishna Govinda Gopajana Vallabha Swaha, which is an 18-syllable Gopal Mantra. It's assumed here it's the 18-syllable Gopal Mantra. There's also a 10-syllable Gopal Mantra, but normally not used by Gaudiya Math devotees or Gaudiya Vaishnavas in general. Although it is said in Chaitanya Bhagavad, I believe that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was initiated into the 10-syllable Gopal Mantra. So in Radharaman, some of the Goswamis they initiate some people into 10-syllable and some people into 18-syllable Gopal Mantra. Okay. So while touching the water with the right hand, so now we don't actually touch with the nails, but we have to touch with some part of the right hand, probably with the 4 fingers, or maybe it's just with 1 finger with the Ankush mudra or whatever, just like that. Or maybe we just holding the right hand above and slightly touching with the left hand, covering, because whenever we count a mantra or do japa of a mantra, we should have it in a bead bag, or we should cover the counting in some way, because we don't want certain bhutas, pretas, pisachas, whatever other living beings, subtle living beings, taking away the merit of the punya of the japa. So we always keep, and we also don't want to engage in false ego that other people see that we count so many times a mantra. So that's why we keep japa mala in a bag, and also don't show even when we do Gayatri, we cover it with a cloth, and we never show the counting of the mantras. So this is understood. So here it says with the right hand covered by the left. Okay, good. All right. So now prayers to the conch shell. Prayers to the conch shell. Okay. So now we have installed the Panchapatra. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to pray to the conch shell. Okay. So the conch shell is called Shankastuti. Shankastuti. Okay. So there are, I think, three prayers here. Yep. 3 prayers, and we're going to chant them. Tvam Purasagaratpano, Vishnuna Viridakare, Manita Savadevaischa, Panchajanya Namostute. Oh Panchajanya, please accept my pranam, my obeisances. In ancient times, you were born from the ocean and seized by the lotus hand of Lord Vishnu. Thus, you are honored by all the demigods. Tava Nadina Jimuta, Vitrashyanti Sura Suraha, Sashanka Yukta Diptabda, Panchajanya Namostute. O Panchajanya, upon hearing your roaring sound, the mountains, clouds, demigods, and demons tremble in fear. Your splendor equals that of thousands of brilliant moons. I offer pranam unto you. And the third one is Garbha Devadi Narinam Vilayanti Sahasrada Tava Nadina Patale Panchajanya Namostute. O Panchajanya, I offer pranam unto you. Your roaring sound shatters into thousands of pieces the womb of the demons' wives in the lower planetary systems. It looks like this is taken directly from the ISKCON Achinapadi translations. Okay, like that. Glories of the conch shell, Shankar Mahatmyam. One can bathe the Sri Narayana Shila. When we say Sri Narayana Shila, we're talking about a Shalagram Shila, right, which is a sacred stone, Ammonite stone, which is from the Gandaki River in Nepal, right, which is a self-manifest deity of Lord Vishnu. There are other Shilas like Govardhan Shila, Dwarka Shila, which are also self-manifest deities of the Lord, with a mixture of cow's milk, paddy rice, and flowers, placed in a bathing conch, right, which opens to the right, So they had a bathing conch which opens to the right up there. So that is as I said, that's a lightning whelp, or some people call it a Lakshmi conch. So that's interesting. So the idea here is to worship the Shalagram Shila with a mixture of cow's milk, paddy rice. Now, paddy rice normally means, in English, paddy rice is the rice with the husk on it before it's been threshed. So I'm not sure if that's what they mean. And flowers. So they may also mean, instead of flowers, they may also mean flower petals. Because if you go sticking a whole lot of paddy rice and flowers in a bathing conch, even if it's got a big thing, you know, I don't care how much milk you put in there, it's going to stop it up. So anyhow, this is the direction which is given here. In the absence of these items, water alone could be used. That would be my preference. When a conch shell is blown while the deity is bathed, it is very pleasing to him. When a conch shell is blown while the deity is bathed, it's very pleasing to him, capital H, him, meaning the Supreme Lord. Bathing is best performed while reciting the Purusha Sukta prayer. Refer to page 107. So we have to look at page 107 and see what the Purusha Sukta prayer is. The Purusha Sukta is there in all the Vedas. Normally in the Padatis of Rupa Goswami, Krishna, Janma Titi Vidi, and even mentioning in some mention in Hari Bhakti Vilas, the Purusha Sukta which is used is the one from the Shukla Yajurveda Madhyandina Shaka, or Madhyandina Vajrasaneya Samhita, which is prevalent in the central northern India amongst Brahmins. However, there are several other Yajurveda Purusha Suktas. There's the Rig Veda Purusha Sukta. There's also the Taittiriya Krishna Yajurveda, and also the Shukla Yajurveda Kanva Shaka, which the Rig Veda Sukta would be chanted mostly in West India. In South India, we have the Krishna Yajurveda Taittiriya Shaka and the Kanva Shaka, the Shukla Yajurveda Kanva Shaka Purusha Suktas. There's also a Purusha Sukta in the Samaveda. So in whichever way you know Purusha Sukta, you can chant Purusha Sukta. The main idea here is that it's explaining that one should chant Purusha Sukta. Now, I don't know if we look at page 107, whether it has a Purusha Sukta and which Purusha Sukta it has, because I haven't checked it out, according to which Veda, and also whether it has Swara markings, which I doubt very much, which are the markings that we need to know if we need to use the Vedic tones. If we don't have markings for the Vedic tones, then don't worry. You can just chant the mantras, what we call ekashruti, or in one tone, in one tone, just as we chant classical Sanskrit prayers and mantras like Bhagavad Gita, just in one tone, like single tone. And there's actually a rule by Panini in his Astadhyayi, which you can read about if you look at Siddhanta Comedy or something like that. And if anybody wants to know the rule, they can get in touch with me and I'll explain to them the rule that if you don't know what the swaras are, if the swaras aren't clear, then you can, the Vedic tones and pitches, you can chant Ekashruti. So refer to page 107. We don't know exactly what it is. Later on, we'll have a look at Purusha Sukta in this book, and we'll see which Purusha Sukta they're telling us to chant. Alternatively, chanting the mantra, idam, alternatively, right? Alternatively. So is this an alternative to Purusha Sukta or what? Okay, alternatively, chanting the mantra, idam shnaniyodakam, idam shnaniyodakam. Well, shnaniya means bath, bathing water. And udakam, udaka means water. So shnaniyodakam means bathing water. This is bathing water. Om namo narayanaya namaha. Om namo narayanaya namaha. Normally, we don't use the mantra Om namo narayanaya namaha. We simply say Om namo narayanaya, because namaha is included in that mantra already, namo. So there's no need to put namaha at the end there. So that would be, I'm not sure, we can again check the original Achanapadidi by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, and we can check some other Achanapadis, and we can see if anybody is suggesting to chant Om Namo Narayanaya Namaha, but I doubt it very much. It's simply Om Namo Narayanaya, which is the normal Astakshara Narayana mantra, 8-syllable Narayana mantra. But while bathing the deity can serve the purpose. Okay, so somebody just says Idam Shnani Yodakam Om Namo Narayanaya, and according to this book, add Namaha at the end there. The water contained in the conch shell is as good as the Ganges water. The water contained in the conch shell is as good as the Ganges water. Okay, so this may also be an opinion by somebody saying that If you simply keep water in a conch shell, it's considered as good as Ganges water. No Shastric pramana, no proof for that coming from any Shastra has been given. So we'll take that with a grain of salt, and we'll, okay. But now we want to establish the bathing conch shell. Now we've prayed to the conch shell already. Now we're going to establish the conch shell. Draw a triangular design. When they say triangular, do they mean a triangle, or do they mean a double triangle? That the Satkona that we had up before. That's a little bit unclear, but probably they mean the same Satkona or 6-pointed star that they mentioned before. Draw the triangular design with water in front of oneself. So right in front of oneself, in between yourself and where the deity is going to sit in the bathing receptacle, while chanting the following mantras to proceed as instructed. Now, once again, we're going to sprinkle, we're going to establish, we're going to use those same mantras again to do. So first of all, I take some water in the right hand, sprinkle the conch shell stand, which is a three-legged stand tripod. Sprinkle it and say Om Astraya Pat. Then Om Adara Shakti Namaha. Take the three-legged conch shell stand and place it on top of the triangular design. Om Astraya Pat again on the conch shell, the bathing conch shell, and then take it again and place it on the stand. I would say you have to say Om Adara Shakti Namaha. You have to put it again. You have to say that again when you put it on the stand, but they haven't said that here. Then say Om Hridaya Namaha, place a flower petal, a tulsi leaf, and chandan, right, in the conch shell. Then Om Shri Swaha, fill the conch shell with water. Then say Om Mam Vahana Mantra Dasakalatmani Namaha. Worship the three-legged conch shell stand, right, by attaching a tulsi leaf and flower petal dipped in chandan to it. Like that. The Vahana Mantra is, of course, we had the Am and we had the Om, now we have the Mam, Bijas, right, which make up Om. And then the Vahana Mandala or the Agni Mandala is fire mandala. And it has 10 colors because there are 10 different names of fires, which we will find out later if we discuss about the hormones and havans and fire sacrifices. Okay, so we need not go into that now. No, so we have Mam, Vahana Mandala, Dasakalatmani Namaha, and now again we're going to worship the Arka Mandala or the Surya Mandala in the conch shell. So we say Om Am Arka Mandala Dwadasakalatmani Namaha, and worship the conch shell by attaching a tulsi leaf and flower petal dipped in chandan to the body of their bathing conch here. Right? Then we're going to say Om Soma Mandalaya or Chandra Mandalaya, right? It's the moon. Sodasakalatmani Namaha, worship the water within the conch shell by placing in it the tulsi leaf and flower petal dipped in chandan. Okay. Summon all the holy waters into the water in the conch shell by chanting the Tirtha Vahana Mantra Gange Chaya Muni Chaya Godavari Saraswati Namadi Sindhu Sanidim Jalismin Sanidim Kuru, while using the Ankusha Mudra. Here they're showing the Ankusha Mudra, right? The little finger on the right hand, the little finger and the ring finger are pushed down, the thumb is on top, the middle finger is straight up, and the index finger is curved like a hook or a goad for controlling elephants, called an Ankush. Like that. So that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. Right. Okay. So then this Ankush Mudra wasn't mentioned before, but probably if we go to page 15, it's also mentioned there. Okay. So now let me just say that a much easier way to do this than establishing the holy rivers in the Panchapatra and then establishing the holy rivers again in the conch shell would be just to establish the holy rivers in the spouted water pot from which you're using all this water. Why not just establish it this is what most people do, and especially in South India, the Virja River or the holy rivers, the 7 holy rivers will be invoked into the main water pot. And then we don't need to individually establish call the holy rivers to Panchapatra, then call them over there to the conch shell, maybe call them somewhere else. No, we just put it in the main receptacle that we have all the water in, and then all the water that we use from the main pot is holy water. Okay, so now touch the water in the conch shell with the right hand, probably with the tip, excluding the nails of the middle finger while doing that Ankusha Mudra, or just simply by placing the hand over the top like that and have the other hand and chant Gopal Mantra 8 times. This is what we did before for the Panchapatra. So we do the same thing for the bathing conch. Now, pour a little of the water from the conch back into the water jug. Aha. So here, what they're doing is they're creating the holy waters in the conch. After they've created it in the Panchapatra, they've created it in the conch, and now they're going to pour a little more water into your hand. Right? Pour a little of that water with the conch back into the jug of water that we have, and then mixing that water in the jug, considering all of that water to be therefore holy water, because we put a little bit back from the water that we invoke the holy rivers in the conch shell from. Well, if you're going to do that, then why not take a little bit of water after you call the holy rivers to the Panchapatra, and take a little bit of water in that and put it back in the jug. And then you wouldn't have had to call the holy rivers to the conch shell because it's already holy. So, why not? The easiest thing to do is simply call the holy rivers into the jug. But this is the way they want you to do it. It's a little bit convoluted, and it's a little bit, in my opinion, it could be done quicker. It could be done easier, and the same result will be there. Okay, so now pour a little more water into your hand, right? So meaning your right hand, and sprinkle on all the other items that we've brought for the puja, and ourselves, and 3 times on one's body and the area of worship. So sprinkle everywhere, including on oneself 3 times. Good. So let's continue on. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pour the water that is remaining in the conch after we did this, right? So we're taking some water from the conch and sprinkling it, right, in different places, right? And then into the throw-out pot. So the rest of that water that we didn't use to sprinkle everything in ourselves, we're going to throw the rest of that into the throw-out pot with the Sarjaniya Patra, and then we're going to place the conch back on the conch stand, and we're going to fill it up again with the water from the pot. Now remember, the water from the pot has had some of the sacred water mixed in with it, so now it's also all sacred, so we're all good. We can just fill it up, and we don't need to go through that calling the holy rivers again. Fill the conch again with water while chanting Om Shirse Swaha and place it in front of you. So you either fill it up. Personally, what I would do is I'd put it on the stand and fill it on the stand. But if you want to, I guess you can hold it in your right hand and fill it up. Hold it in your left hand, fill it up with your right hand or hold it in your right hand, fill it up with your left hand from that. Better if you take it with your right hand, put it on the conch shell stand, the 3-legged stand, and take the pot with the right hand and fill the thing up with water from the pot. Now, mantra for sanctifying the bell, which is called Ganta Shuddhi Mantra. Shuddhi again means purifying or to make pure. Ganta is a bell. So Ganta Shuddhi Mantra, whenever we say a mantra, normally if we're not doing anything else, we can put our hands together in Anjali Mudra in front of the chest and say, Sarva Vadyamayi Gante, Deva Deva Sivalabhe, Tam Vina Navasarvesham, Shubham Bhavati Shobhane. Oh, beautiful bell, you embody the sweet sound of all music, and you are dear to the God of gods, Sri Krishna. Without you, there is no auspiciousness for anyone. Very good. Establishing the bell. Once again, we're going to do this. We're going to, in the appropriate spot where you're going to establish the bell, right? Draw the satkona, the double triangle design, right? And the bell is for the bell to be placed on. Then, while chanting the following mantras, continue as instructed. Do you have to have a Garuda on the bell? No. In North India, a lot of bells have a Garuda on the top. In South India, Sri Vaishnavas, they'll have on the top, they'll have Shankha Chakra, the Lord's conch and disc on the top. Madhvas will have Hanuman on the top. Shaivites will have Nandi, the bull carrier of Shiva, on the top. So different people, different sects and different sampradayas, they may have different emblems of the Lord that they're worshipping on the top of the bell. Garuda is common. If you have a bell without any emblem on the top, that also can be used in puja. Okay, so that's fine. So you don't have to have a Garuda on the top. You don't have to have Shankha Chakra. You don't have to have Shiva's bull. You don't have to have whatever bell you like. You have it. I have a nice puja bell from Bali. It has more or less like a thunderbolt on the top. It looks like Indra's Vajra, his thunderbolt on the top. So that's the way they make bells in Bali, the Hindus. That can be used for anybody like that. So it doesn't have a Shankha Chakra on the top. It doesn't have. I have another bell, an antique bell with a Shankha Chakra on the top, and I have a bell with Garuda on the top. I don't have a bell with Shiva's bull on the top, but I'm not a Shaivite. So whatever kind of bell you like, you get that bell. It can be made of bell metal. It can be made of brass. Bell metal is probably better because it makes a nicer sound. or it can be made of silver or gold, but silver bells are also possible. Like that. So then while chanting the mantras, do as follows, right? So again, we're going to wash, we're going to purify, we're going to establish, and we're going to then worship the bell. So almost dry a pot, take some water in your hand, sprinkle the bell on the plate like that, or you could sprinkle the plate first and establish the plate, and then sprinkle the bell, and then almost dry a pot, the second time, or you could just sprinkle them both and do it in one time. Here seems to be what they say is sprinkle the bell on the plate with the water, and then take the bell on the plate and place it on the triangular design. Almost dry a pot, Next thing you're going to do is you're going to take a flower petal dipped in chandan, you're going to offer it and press it to the side of the bell, saying Om Jaya Dvani Mantra Matre Svaha. After this, you're going to pray to the bell. So, no, actually you're not. All right. So in most Archana Padditis of the Gaudiya Math, they have another mantra which they pray to the bell. But here it's not mentioned, so we're not going to do it. Okay. If you want to know that, you can look it up. There's another mantra for the bell. Okay, so mantra for offering incense. Here's a Dupa Dana mantra. Dana means to give, Dupa means incense. And normally the type of incense that we offer is the agarbatti sticks in a holder, in an incense holder. Otherwise, you can offer cone incense, you can offer powder incense, you can offer incense on hot charcoals in a container almost like a ghee lamp. You can offer that, and you say Om Vanaspadaratatano Ganda Dyo Ganda Uttamaha Agreya Sarva Devanam Dupoyam Pratigruhyatam. So, O Lord, this incense, having been obtained from the sap of the king of trees, is endowed with the best of fragrances. Please accept this fragrant incense, which is very sweet smelling to the demigods. Now, there's another mantra here, the Deepa Dana mantra for offering lamps, the mantra for offering the ghee lamp. Swapakas Maha Tejaha Savatastimidapaha Sabhaya Bhyantara Jyotir Deepo Yam Pratigruhyatam. The word Pratigruhyatam means to offer. I'm going to offer to you. And then you say, oh Lord, this lamp is endowed with immense effulgence. It removes all darkness and is illuminating both internally and externally. Please accept this lamp. After reciting the above mantra, right, offer flowers to the lamp while chanting Om Namah Dipeshwaraya. Right? Now that one has completed the preparations for Archana, one lights the incense and ghee lamp and begins the Archana of Sri Guru. One does not offer the incense and ghee lamp as is done in Arti, but rather allows them to remain burning throughout the Archana and of Sri Guru and also the Archana of the deity. So this mantra that we chant to the Deepa for offering the lamp, right? Sometimes we have for the offering Dupa, the incense. Sometimes it's said Rasat Pano, or sometimes it said Rasot Bhuto, or like that. So we have to look up in Hari Bhakti Vilas what the original one is, but both probably mean the same thing. So you can take your pick. Here it says Rasot Pano. Some other place it may say Rasot Bhuto. Okay, that's fine. So now we come to the end of that, and we're going to talk about ingredients used in worship.
Om Namo Narayanaya